I need a haircut. But that's not the point on this video. The point are reflections. 5 tips for reflection photography coming up. Hi there, my name is Peter Forsgaard and I am a professional photographer from Helsinki, Finland. And this reflection doesn't work. As you can see, if you have a window, you get 2 reflections because there are 2 surfaces that makes the reflection. You have the front of the window and then you have the other side of the window. This looks crap. But let's continue. I will do some better filming. And what I mean about reflections, there are 2 types of reflections. This type where the surroundings reflected from a reflective surface, and then you might have reflections from a subject that might ruin the image. That's very common in product photography. You have wrong kinds of reflections from the product. But this kind of reflections that I'm having here are really nice. And this is what I'm going to talk mostly in this video. And there will be an assignment for you too about reflections, but more details about that at the end of this video. So be sure to watch it all the way to the end. But let's start with the first tip. There are some buildings over there, and then we have the reflections from the window. Glass buildings are really excellent for reflections, and most cities have them. We don't have any high buildings in Helsinki, but small glass covered buildings are really nice to make the reflective image. And remember that when you're making an image, you need to focus to the reflection, not the surface of the building, because reflection is behind the window as far as it is from the window, the real thing that is reflecting. So sometimes using autofocus might not work because it might grab the focus from the window surface if there is some dirt on the window or window frames or something like that. So manual focus is one good thing to use. And as you saw, you can use the window reflection to make kind of like a multiple exposure images. You have different layers in those images, and if you have curved glass to photograph, that makes the scene look really interesting. And the reflections work best if there is dark indoors. And of course, usually if there is a lot of light outdoors, the light indoors is a lot less, so you will have a reflection. You can't see inside that much, but you will have more reflective surface if it's dark indoors. And that's very good. And always try to find the perfect spot to make the reflection. Move the camera and look around and see what works best. And that's so that you get the best possible image. And you can also use light sources like the sun reflecting from the window. And if you're stopping down to a certain aperture, you might get a nice star on the window. And then if there are no big glass windows or big glass buildings, then you can use smaller windows and see what kind of reflections those make. That can also be a very interesting image if you have the wall there and then there's a small window and the window shows something. That's really interesting. You can even make a selfie like that if you want. But let's continue to the next tip. And enjoying the sun. And now I cannot show you how to do reflections when there are not really a subject, but there is a reflecting floor, for example, after a rain, because I'm always doing this video at the wrong time. The weather isn't always like I want it to be, but it might rain tomorrow. But here are some images that I've taken earlier. As you can see, the best time to make reflection images is after a rain when the ground is wet. It's a very reflective then. And as you can see, even this quite harsh concrete floor in this old oil tank, which is a kind of like a light art installation that's open only a few weekends during the fall. And I've taken several images over there, and here's an example where the light that shines through and also the LEDs that shines through the holes in the oil tank will reflect different kinds of light on the floor, and that's really interesting. Okay, this one was taken also with live comp, as you can see from the moving light on the side there. Take advantages if there's been rain. After that, there will be puddles and wet ground that will reflect stuff and light too. Use other surfaces that reflect light, and it doesn't always have to be a subject. It can be city lights that are reflecting and making interesting looking shapes with different colors. And especially in the evening when you have all the city lights on, you will get nice reflections like you have seen in these images that I've shown you. Not all cities have a great skyline. Helsinki is one of those cities. Okay, this is a pretty nice view right now, but the water is moving, so it's not really calm, so there is no reflections on here. That's why I came here, to see if there would be a reflection. And there's one solution that you can do, is to have a longer shutter speed so that the water is totally smooth, but then the reflection will be a bit smushy and more or less a big amount of colors, or not exact shapes, but blurry shapes. And it could work sometimes. And let's see some images that I've taken before. And it doesn't have to be nighttime to do that. You can do it on bright sunlight too, but you need to have a calm and steady water in front of the thing that is reflecting. But let's look at those images. And today it's raining, and now there are puddles. And there is a big puddle, and there are those about the only high-rises that are being built in Helsinki. There are going to be 7 of those, and now there's the third one is coming up, and the middle one is already finished, and I think people are living in there. But here you can actually get a pretty cool image like this. You want to hold the camera quite low, and then you have the flippy screen, which helps you to make the composition. If you don't have the flippy screen, you need to guess. But the weather for reflections would be better after the rain. Now it's raining and the sky is really gray, so you don't have the most spectacular view. But the reflection, that comes out really nice. Let's see what else we can find and see if we can find some more reflections. We could go closer to the shopping mall that's down there, because there might be some darker areas under the roof, so we could check that out and see if that works. But let's continue. And what else you can do is to have some water with you and pour the water from a bottle to the ground. Today it's not the best day to do that, but that's something that you also can do. And then there is one more trick that I will show you after I've checked if there are any reflections that can be photographed from closer to the shopping mall that is under those high-rises. And also this kind of wet tarmac, or what do you call this, pavement, tarmac, whatever you call this thing that they put on the ground here, is that when it's wet it will give you a not really kind of like really sharp reflections, but it will give you some shape. And like I already said, if the same thing with the water, it will give you some big areas of light and color, and it will also reduce the contrast of the scene, because it's reflecting light. It's lighter when it's like this. When it's dry and this fairly new pavement here is really dark. Let's see if we can get something from here. No, not really. That doesn't look that good. As you can see, it shines a bit differently, and that will give you some shape to the foreground too. And that's, especially if you're using wide-angle lenses, then that might be something interesting in the front. Okay, this is an interesting place to look around. There's, these swings that people can swing, and you get those ropes up there, and then there's I don't know what that is, but that probably makes a noise when there's some wind. This is an interesting place, but not much to photograph. I found one photograph here, and that might work as a reflection. But not that much here. There are lights also over there, but there's not enough contrast or no water over there. But this is an interesting place. I have to say that this could make a great place to do some portraiture or something like that. But we will be concentrating on the reflections now on the street. Now that it is raining, because it's been very good weather for many days. But let's continue. I decided to come indoors to finish this video because it started to rain so much it was no fun anymore. And after I've given you the assignment, I will show you one more trick which you can play around with reflections. But the assignment, you probably guessed it right, it will be reflections. I want to see images that has reflections. It can be something that I've done, or even better if you come up with something that I did not show. Try to be creative. And here are all the timetables that you will need to know before sending the image. And all the instructions are in the description of this video, how to send the image. But now, let's go outdoors and see what the trick is. Let's do some fun. First photographing these shoes that are on the ground. And then I'm gonna take those shoes off the frame and stand there myself. Now let's see how that goes. That's gonna be some fun image. And yeah, it was quite fun image. I hope you enjoyed it. I enjoyed making it, even though it was raining. And here is some more for you to watch. There is the minimalistic assignment that I had last time, and then there's also the live stream where I gave the feedback. If you don't know how the feedback goes, feel free to watch that. But hey, thanks for watching, and bye for now.